Hello, I'm Extra and welcome back to another Weird Realm experiment. Today's experiment is actually going to be testing human psychology itself because I'm going to be doing an incognito realm experiment test on the official Minecraft Discord realm. That's right, I got access to this so we can do a little bit of human experimentation on people who don't even realize that there is going to be an experiment. Because today I wanted to test a point about in-groups and out-groups, and I'm proving that via Minecraft. Because one of the things that is true no matter which point in human history you look at is that people try to separate themselves into various different groups, or teams if you will, and there tends to be two major groupings or teams, teams that represent the for something and the against something, the totally good side and the other side which is bad, the red side and the blue side, whichever way you want to say these different groupings. People tend to divide themselves into two, a whole range of different issues, and today I want to test that inside Minecraft by dividing people into two. So if you want to see how we're doing this, then let me show you, because we have this spawn area. Every single time someone enters into the world, they're prompted with some choices they have to make. They have to choose things like cats or dogs, and I mean it should be obvious what I'm going to pick, right? But you have to choose things like cats or dog. You have to choose things like love or war, and I mean I guess we'll go for love in this one. We have to choose things like lone wolf or team player, and so on and so forth. Because there are 10 questions, and based on your 10 questions, you're assigned a team. There is Team 1 and there is Team 2. Team 1, the good team, is Ravager. Team 2 is called Kilgara. And they're obviously the bad people, right? So yeah, here's the deal. We have this question at spawn, and we can work out, based on what people decide, whether they're a Team 1, sort of person, or whether they're a Team 2 sort of person. So based on the team that you have been given, you're going to be given a spawn in the world, and there is a giant world which is divided into two, roughly correlating between territory belonging to Team 1 and Team 2. And obviously, the thing is kind of set up so that, you can do whatever you want, but there's probably going to be some conflict between people who always have Team 1 at the bottom of their screen and people who always have Team 2. And so the thesis of this video, the question we're going to be trying to test and maybe prove, is whether people will immediately adapt to those roles and start to really like people who are on their own team, who picked the right things, and really dislike people who maybe, just maybe, picked the other options and ended up on the wrong team. Will they fight to the death? Will they make friends with people on their own sides? Let's see just how much it really comes down to that. And so a realm where we basically have anything goes besides hacking, which again, not enforced by me in this case, we'll see if that goes any better, but in a world where people can do pretty much anything to each other, we're going to see if those labels come across, and that should already be quite interesting, right? Like, will people really start to attach value to those labels and those questions? But here's where things get interesting. Let me give you a little bit of information that the people who are playing this do not know, because those questions that decide which team you'll be on are actually entirely unrelated. The team that you spawn into are entirely unrelated to your answers to those questions. They seem like they would, pick a good team, right? Like, oh yeah, the people who pick the right answers will be on my team, and the people who don't pick them will be on the other team. But the truth is, it's entirely random which team you spawn on, and that's why it'll be so interesting if people really do start to attach themselves to those labels regardless. Is it really this easy to divide people, or will people, kind of see through it immediately? Let's find out over the next week or two on the, again, official Minecraft World's Realm Over thing. We already have someone called Good Party Cat, by the way. Anyway, just so we can guarantee that people who join the realm aren't expecting a little bit of messery, because, we've done a lot of bizarre experiments. People might be expecting them on our realm. However, on this realm, we're doing this alongside another experiment. Again, not my realm either. People don't know this has any link to me, and I'm hoping that means the results are harder to tamper with, because no one knows there even is an experiment being done, whereas people always know that things like the Libertarian server are going on, which is, the equivalent experiment over there. So yeah, well, that's the plan here, and let's see if it works out for us. So the experiment itself is going to be interesting to watch, but just in case you're curious about the rest of the world as to how this whole thing goes down, basically we do have a giant war, which is on an Xbox 360 old size world. So if you don't know, Minecraft Pocket Edition has 256 by 256 worlds. Because this is two teams, we went for an 864 by 864, which is the old size of Minecraft console world. So shout out Minecraft 360 players, am I right? But yeah, then we have big dividers between each of the bases, the neutral in the middle, the blue on the one side, the red on the other side. And yeah, that means that we have a big world, but it's kind of divided into separate portions which people can fight over. So as well as having big dividers between the areas, we also have all of the terrain being like kind of custom generated for this, just to make a slightly different Minecraft experience for everyone involved, because again, I'm trying to make a little bit of a bizarre server experiment here, and I'm hoping it works out for us. So I think the other team has already gone full communist, by the way. Like, they've started to make the banners, which are looking a little bit like the Minecraft representation of the hammer and sickle, I'm just saying. It's interesting because we already found someone who says, I do not wish to pick sides, I am neutral. And that's an interesting opinion to have on this whole conflict. But with that said, the neutral base has already been kind of griefed, I would say. Or maybe made better. I guess you can argue amongst yourselves about which it is. But yeah, some people have come here, they've raided it a little bit. Made it, again, different is the easiest way to sum up these changes. And then covered it in gravel, which I think is really adding some insult to that injury. So yeah, neutrality, not going down well today. So I was wondering how long it would take people to start to mold to these identities and start to use that to attack each other, and apparently Team 1 is very angry at Team 2 because here's their base. As you can see, it's missing their flag, it's missing a lot of blocks, and really, it doesn't work as a base anymore because they've taken all the crops and all the value has been removed from this, which is impressive, you know, like, they've already started raiding each other and deciding, you know, if the game gives us teams, I guess those teams must be the things we attach to, and yeah, the interesting thing about this is the middle ground, which was just formerly nothing, has turned into the big fighting place between the two teams. So yeah, somehow having free bases does lead to one team taking over and doing bad things to the other. Wait, small update on the center ground. Turns out that has been a casualty of the fighting too. There seems to be a lot of TNT going down here, but not enough that makes me think it's hacked. Maybe people really did kill creepers and get sand. Or maybe they're just really lazy hackers. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But there are some nice things that have been built. It's not all about killing just yet. So that's a good sign at least. So here's something kind of funny, in my opinion. So on the Discord, you can already see how it's like, no, there are only two teams. You're either with us or against us. There's only two colored skulls, the white skulls and the wither skulls. And it's kind of funny that like the neutral zone has already been like, the flag's been removed. There is no neutral zone in Minecraft. In the Team 1, Team 2 wars, you have to pick a side. You're either a good white skull person or a bad wither skull person, or a good wither skull person or a bad white skull person. It seems everyone has already started to attach those identities and ignore the idea that you can't be a part of them, which I think is funny. And again, you can see how the neutral zone, it's not quite as bad as the wither skull base, but also they've removed the flag and every other indicator that this was neutral, besides that white flag right there. So I do have some hope though. The neutral zone is alive and well, and it seems as though at least there's some base in the middle, some place for them to meet and, at least to fight and not destroy their own bases. And let's hope that that continues to last. Hey, look, the neutral zone has somehow survived for a whole day, which is impressive. Like, usually we say like, oh, hope this thing survives, and then, I guess nothing survives. And I'm happy that somehow neutrality has lived at least another day, and that is a promising sign. So the sun sets on another rather pleasant day, actually, in our two-party paradise. So do you remember when I said the neutral zone was going really well, and it was really great that there was this neutral zone that was, like a reprieve from the fight between the teams that people were attaching themselves to? Well, about that, I guess the simplest way to sum up what happened here, LOL, in big all caps andesite blocks, followed by all hope is lost, ... and all hell broke loose. Yep, this summarizes things quite well here, I guess. See, it's really impressive because TNT is hard to come by on this server because it is survival, so when people destroy things like they've done right here, they do so block by block just for the pure purpose of trying to do the maximal impact to those darn neutral people. Like, how dare you not get involved in a side is, I guess, apparently the argument they're making. And it seems as though they keep making that exact same argument no matter how many days, or in this case a whole week has passed, and all we've seen is more destruction of the center. We haven't seen people try to rebuild it because no one cares about those neutral center guys, no one cares about them at all, so everyone just destroys them, it seems, from all the angles, and that's kind of sad. But it's definitely not as sad as what seems to have happened to people who are on the wrong side, because their base has been entirely destroyed. They used the lava water, make a staircase technique to just make an entire mess, as you can see right here. It's awful. It's a tragedy, I would even say. And yeah, that's because they dared to be on the wrong side of this thing, and they've just been entirely destroyed because one side was stronger than the other, so they had to, of course, wipe out the opposite side because everyone has to be involved in this tribal warfare. And, I can't even be mad about that too much. But it really is impressive just how destroyed entirely their base is, while still maintaining a semblance of like, oh yeah, it does exist. The, the non-white skull people spawn here, the bad people spawn there still, but they don't really get to do very much because of the destruction. Whereas if you look on the other side of the map where the superior White Skull people are based, you can see how, oh yeah, they're doing really well for themselves. There seems to be this interesting, split where Team 1, the Ravagers, the White Skull people, just entirely walked over the other team, and now they exist in this absolutely absurd place of luxury wealth, all the resources, all farmable, all obtainable by anyone on the team. And here's the interesting thing about human psychology that we're learning already, is that people not only will categorize themselves into one of two groups, but because humans don't do a very good job at splitting it down the middle, often one of those groups will win, even if just a little bit, like 55 by 45, and then that will allow them to do something like this. One group, 55% of the people can have 100% of the power. Also, I found a pink sheep that apparently has its own castle. That is the level of pure wealth we've gone on a server which is all about people killing each other non-stop. We've managed to make a nice little castle dedicated to a pink sheep within this, larger kind of keep style thing. It's huge, it's amazing, and it's entirely untouched by those Wither Skull people. Again, the bad people, the people we need to watch out for, and maybe that says something. Maybe it doesn't. I'm not even really sure. I just think it's super interesting. And look, from outside the castle walls, there are even nice bridges to help you get over things like, oh yeah, this river sure is annoying. Would it be nice if we could just walk over it? Yeah, it seems as though one side is being destroyed already and one side is just powering over them. I'm wondering if this ever goes back and forth, or if this is just the end, like, oh, as it turns out, the side with the pink sheep and the slightly more people. So yeah, from here, the only question is, does it ever flip back the other way, or is this just like, server experiment ended? As it turns out, people got too good, and now we're kind of done. Let's find out over the next few days, and maybe... It's funny because the more time that passes, the more I become convinced that every single survival Minecraft server where you don't have explicit rules just turns into the same thing. This exact same pattern generates everywhere, even now, near the good base, like everyone, we've just won. The White Skull people have destroyed the other people, so now we're just going to destroy ourselves. It looks like, again, near here, we've started building these, and it's like, why? Why do people do this everywhere on every server ever? Like, it doesn't look very good, and I know people know that, but like, why is it the case that even on this server, a whitelisted only server, you still see this mess, which causes huge lag when you make it, looks ugly when you're done with it, and is a pain to clear up? Do people just hate other people? I think it has to be that, right? Okay, so look at this. We have another just bizarre example of like, well, I mean, what else are we gonna do? We've kind of won now. So a guy just decided, why not make the tallest bamboo I can make? Go all the way up to Y128. And so it goes even higher than that. I guess it goes all the way to sky height. Why did they do this? Why would anyone ever do this for any particular reason? You don't really need to, unless you have all the resources in the world. You have a bamboo farm at your disposal. And I'm not sure if this does prove any amazing points. Oh, and there's wandering traders up here, because of course there is. But even ignoring that, you can see how like, oh yeah, once you get to the stage where there's no opposition anymore, once you have like a clear goal and that goal's been achieved, I think like humans start to not be so good at what they're trying to do. Oh, also, it seems as though every now and then the opposition base gets even more and more wrecked. Like, I keep wanting a comeback. I feel like that'd be a really interesting thing to look at. But yeah, no, at this point, it's just one team has dominated the other one, and now this is the aftermath. I don't actually expect anything to change anymore. I just expect this will keep getting more and more extreme. And I guess we'll, keep watching for another few days or a week or something and see if anything goes different. Because again, right now, we have no neutral zones, just a destroyed zone, and a place where people build whatever they want because they can and no one will stop them. Because it is worth mentioning, there's like a little bit of like selection bias that increases, the initial kind of like, not unfairness, but the initial power dynamic of one team being stronger than the other means that everyone who spawns on the wrong team either just quits immediately, like, oh, it sucks to be losing, and therefore they get weaker, and instead they make a nice little house in the woods, like you can see over here. Look how great and or non-involved this is. Like, the only way to stay out of it is to stay away from everyone, and oh, there's a sign in there. And to make slightly passive-aggressive notices, like, you're up here, now go back down. Okay there, friend. But yeah, we definitely have proved that no one likes to be part of the losing team, so instead, they just kind of don't. It seems as though if you force an identity on people, people use that as a way to feel nice and strong, but then the people on the losing side of it don't really like to stick to it so much. Like, no one wants to be part of a losing identity. You create a new one for yourself that isn't quite a loser yet until it goes into another fight where inevitably will be. So I think I found the most specific example of this one yet. Some time has passed, and I decided to look around the rest of the map, and it seems like every little corner where no one needs to go, or no one should be going, because it's not related to the two main bases, people go there and they make these little subtle houses, and this one says don't go in, they said. It'll be fine, they said. And then it looks like they've been raided by the Ravager Resistance. That's the, Team 1 White Skull people. And yeah, I find that to be crazy interesting that, like, oh yeah, you didn't get involved and they just got destroyed, because this is basically the neutral zone. Even if you're not explicitly one of those Wither Skull people, they have a weird team name, but even if you're not explicitly one of them, the fact that you're not one of us means that you get raided. And this is a really soft raid. Like, they just destroyed a few blocks here and there, made it not look so much like a house, but again, there's like some of it remaining. I guess that means the other house I checked out probably was also raided too. But yeah, no, I really want to see what happens if we give the server some time. Will this finally get any better? Let's find out by coming back in a few days and seeing if it degrades even more somehow, or if some resistance can actually form and unite in their spawn area. So I've been checking back to the server every couple of days just to see what's happened, and yeah, it's been no progress or negative progress every single time. It's been a week now, and I guess we have to conclude that, yeah, things aren't getting better for the losing side, and this experiment is almost a failure. And I say that because I was expecting that, the weaker side, there would be a sustained conflict. People love the conflict. They'll always have a second group, even if you have to create different reasons for it. But in the case of this server right here, what we had is we had a slight initial disadvantage, which led into a huge disadvantage, one which has led to this being the base of one of the sites. I mean, it's not a base, right? It's just a big mess where there clearly was a base that no one cares about anymore. And it's interesting because I was really expecting that this would sustain itself. Like, what I was expecting would happen is that, like, both sides would start to tear down anything that wasn't the two sides. They'd start to consolidate anything that wasn't in there into one of the two, and that's what happens most of the time in real life. But what it seems like happened here is we didn't end up consolidating into two separate power bases. We just have one power base that entirely destroyed both the other side and all of the neutral stuff. Look at this really nice neutral area that people made. It's been entirely destroyed. Look at the really nice neutral area the map came with. It's been entirely destroyed. The flag has been deliberately torn down. A pretty iconic imagery, right? But then look at this stuff over here. Oh yeah, that's also been torn down, or at least like pretty messed up. You can see how what ended up happening is I was expecting everything would consolidate into two sets of hands. There could be no neutrality, but it turns out everything consolidated into one set of hands. There's not even no neutrality. There's no being anything but the best side. And look how great it looks if you are near that best side. Look how nice their spawn area is. Like, in a war zone, you would not be able to make a castle this nice with this going around it with some nice houses for everyone, but yet they managed to do it on this server. So yeah, it didn't have the necessary exact result I was expecting, but what does happen is something that does prove an interesting point in my opinion, because what we've proven here is that often a slight disadvantage for one side can lead to a huge advantage to the other, and one side being slightly stronger can lead to that side having all the power. This is actually how pretty much every governmental system around the world works. As soon as you have 51% of the seats, or 51% of the votes, or 51% of the anything in any given place, you often end up with 100% of the power, and that is what has happened here. They had 54% of the members, and that led to them having 100% of the power. There is no opposition to the almighty White Skull people, apparently, and that's with me being one of their members, and I didn't do anything to intervene. I was kind of just, journalist watching the thing from everything else. I just spotted this, by the way. There's literally a sign here saying, yet they are scared. Like, they dominated to such a huge degree that I really didn't imagine. Not because of you, but because of themselves. You know very little, my small child. Please leave. Like, this, it really goes to show that this happens a lot in real life. Like, all you need is all you need to be is this biggest single group. You don't need to have 100% of the people behind you. You just need to have the biggest single group of people behind you, and then that's enough to enforce all of the power. And yeah, that's something that I think every system everywhere around the world for every single thing struggles with. You see it in the workplace. You'll see it in the form of government. You'll even see it in a friendship group. You have, a couple of people who are making most of the plans, and people are kind of down with that. Yeah, you don't need to have the most popular plans, the most popular this. You just need to have the biggest single group of people behind you. And yeah, that's an interesting human power dynamic, which is just true no matter how you design a system. Is it because of mathematics? Is it because of our human internals? That's something I guess you can work out for yourself. But all I can say for now is, my god, this was a experiment that proved something I was never expecting, but it did it in a really interesting way, and I hope you all enjoyed my checking it out today. I do have to quickly mention that again, before this video goes out, the Libertarian server, the world server thing, will have started, so keep that in mind. Like, I deliberately did the two things things side by side to keep this one secret and that one under wraps. So that's going to be a very different experiment, which we'll finish at some point just before or just after this video goes live. So keep in mind that, again, this was a secret thing, but it was done via the Minecraft Worst Realm Ever. If you like joining realms, but you think the seasonal kind of nature of my realm, where it's an experiment followed by a blank world, followed by an experiment, followed by some weird world, if you don't like that and you want to have like a consistent realm, the Worst Realm Ever resets every month or two, and yeah, if you think that's a cool idea for a survival server, then there is a way to apply. You have to like go through some steps. It's a little bit tricky, but check it out. It's via the official Minecraft Discord, and if you want to join my server for things like the Libertarian server and whatnot, then I'll also let you know what that is. It's like discord.gg/toycat. The editor will have it on screen right now, just in case I got my own Discord link wrong, but but yeah, it was really interesting to run this experiment, and it always is interesting just how much we can learn from Minecraft, how much things are different in Minecraft, and also how often they can be the same. Maybe you enjoyed that, maybe you didn't, but either way, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you decide to stick around if this is your first one, and maybe hit that subscribe button, because for now, I'm going to be seeing you all in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye. From the superior Team 1 people.